Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, wherever you are. I'm happy you're here. And as you come into the room and we gather our energy together, it's going to be an interesting time because it's one of my favorite, if not the favorite, topics to talk about because everything everything funnels into divine appointments. And today we'll talk about, do you have a divine appointment with your animal? And we can also assign this to people too. So as we're talking and you're thinking about your animal, start like broadening your thoughts about your life too. Um, and I wonder why I met that person, and it only lasted this long. So let's plan to unpack that. So as you come in, hi Tammy, love that sweater. I did my cat thing today. Hello Anadine, hello MB and Carol. It's good to see you. Um, I love seeing where everybody's from and wondering how your week has been and wondering what your weather has been. Our weather has been beyond crazy and got a lot of snow, and it's just been slogging through, but the snow actually, I don't know if you've noticed this, my guess is you have, if you have snow, is it's exceedingly quiet and it grounds everybody. Everybody like takes time to just be because they can't get out, or they can't go to work, or the kids can't go to school. So it's an amazing reset actually. So I wonder if any of you have felt that. It's good to see you, Vicki. I'm so glad you're here, and from Alabama. Okay, good to see you again. And hi, Mary Lynn from Toronto, Canada. It's winter but sunny, beautiful. I love that. Love that. And Marge, love the soft, slow snowfalls. Aren't they beautiful? What does that make you feel, everybody? Like when you're in the snow, and if you're in Phoenix and you're in the western part of the country, or you're even in other parts of the world, how do you relate to snow? What does it feel like? What does it sound like to you when you go outside? What do you notice? Today we're going to talk a lot about noticing because everything matters and everything's connected. And Jolene finally didn't have to work till noon. Jolene and Gunnar are here. It is so good to see you. I'm so glad you all are coming in. Thank you. And Celia, you're from North Carolina, so I'm wondering if you got the snow we did. Calmness, Vicky says. Hello, Tammy from Minnesota. So glad to see you. I love you coming into the room like this. If you are new, welcome, welcome. And I love, and I'm getting all over body chills, so spirit's starting to come in already. And if you've been here before, let's all like join in, because we all know each other on a soul level. We all know each other from a soul frequency, and we'll talk about that today as well. And if you found your way here, your animal guided you 100%, always connected. It's nothing random. So I wonder, have you ever thought about your animal being in your life on purpose? Everybody's like, the shirt is my cat shirt. Just in case you think I'm all about dogs, I'm just, that's so funny. I love it when the snow glitters like a special gift. That's beautiful. Yes, that is so beautiful when that happens. I love that sentence too. Makes me want to write further on that one. Deanna Gang is here listening and eating their breakfast, having their little snacky cakes this morning. Jane and Pearl in spirit from Florida. Beautiful, beautiful, and absolutely, yes, totally. MB says, yes, my dear. Is it Lilia? Love the snow. I bet she still does. No, Leah. Okay, couldn't see on there. Leah, right? Leela. I got it. Michelle, I've been off. Let's see. I've been laid off from work recently, so I've been resetting for many days now. Well, I'm glad you're here. This is a big reset for us all, especially coming in the middle of the week, to have these kind of important conversations, right? These are important. They matter. Layla, got it. Why do you think your animal's in your life? I'm curious. Have you ever thought about it? If you haven't thought about it while they were with you, have you thought about it after they passed? What do you feel like? Okay, let me rephrase that. What was the significance of your relationship with your animal? Pop it in the comments. I'd love to know. If you could grab one word to let us know, like, what was the significance of it? To teach other love, maybe. Okay. No, I prayed for him and he had faint angel wings. He saved my life so many years. That's so beautiful. Beautiful. To teach me patience. To teach each other love, maybe. Powerful. Yes, they are my emotional support animals. Good to see you, Susie. Celie says, Sunny gave me joy like no other person has. Do you still have the joy? Jane, she taught me unconditional love. Mutual learning, Hannity says. Jess, safety. These are powerful. This is nothing small. Oh, Susan, we were meant to help each other, and we did. And Jane, they gave me healing, joy every day. And Samantha, Jack came to me to keep me alive. Merlin came to remind me to believe in myself. So you know the powerful relationships you have with your animals. It's not just, oh, they're in my life, and you understand the depth of the connection. And this is wonderful because that's what the animals are here really to teach, a deeper awareness of who and what they are, and how they affect our lives. So let's talk about divine appointment. And before I explain that and what that means, is the word divine, right? It's a high level kind of appointment. It's a high level meeting. It goes beyond the regular 3D world. And the animals come in to share many, many things with us. And I want you all, as we go through, to be thinking about, they don't just enter our lives, they literally arrive. They arrive during various portal points and junctures. So they arrive during grief, during illness, during major life transitions, during moments where our hearts are cracking open or being asked to. And I think that's what we're afraid of most, that cracking open. But I'm here to tell you that even if your heart cracks open and breaks into 1,000 pieces, when it is reformed in a new way, because guess what? The divine appointment you don't lose it when they pass. That becomes your spiritual, you are reading the energetic presence as opposed to the physical presence. So your heart actually expands even more to share even more love and contain even more love. Pippa's mom, Chloe's passing is teaching me that my spirituality was always there. It's just been dormant. That's powerful. What are you doing with that? If you are feeling it and it's very active, how does that show up in your life? Because that's Chloe helping you grow forward on a soul level. How many of you have thought about the timing of when your pet came in? I always one of my core teachings. Pay attention to how they came in, when they came in, and when and how. Well, not so much necessarily how they passed or they left, although that does factor into some things. How many of you have noticed that there's a correlation? Yes, Pendabe says, this is so very deep. Yeah, that's me. So totally true. It's so important for us to understand this. Susie says, I knew it was meant to be. Yes. Everything's connected. And Blue Bear, I wasn't planning on ever getting another dog when Blue came into my life. He picked me from a litter of 11 puppies my son was looking at. He guided me through the hardest 6 years of my life. That was an important meeting, right? That was an important soul appointment that you have. This is wonderful. And it speaks to your noticing the connections and everything. And that's what we want to do today. You may not have had words for it before, but hopefully today you'll have some kind of vocabulary that you can use as going forward and looking at all the aspects of your life. So, divine appointment really has to do with spirit, source, life, intelligence. It moves pieces into place. It's orchestration. You meet an animal at just the right moment, right when you needed grounding, when your heart was breaking, when your life was quietly unraveling, or maybe even loudly unraveling, or when you're about to become someone new. And that's an interesting one that we don't often think about, because sometimes the animals get put in place. Well, a lot of times they get put in place to anchor us for what's coming that we don't know is coming. I know that Murphy definitely came in about 6 months in April before my sister, maybe a little longer than 6 months, who passed in December of that year. He was already in place, and we had, gotten the connection, excuse me, and the depth of our relationship was in place, and he turned out to be quite the healer. So it wasn't random. And of all the many groups of puppies that have come to me over the years, I had an onslaught of mothers for a while, until I was like, somebody needs to stop, because it was beautiful, and that these mothers were wonderful mothers to their puppies. And then, they would go out in the world. And I don't know if I've told this story here, but there was a group, I still have Mom and Tigger, named after the Winnie the Pooh characters. And so I had Christopher and Robin. And when it was time to take them and meet and greet, Christopher, it was like a split. He was black on one side and white on the other, and Robin was exactly the opposite. And this family came in to look at all the puppies, and they were quite drawn to both of them. The father came in and kind of sat on the side and watched, and as they interacted, he was very quiet and didn't really get into the fray with the puppies, let the family do it. And they ended up taking, the mom and the son took Christopher, and the daughter, who was an adult, took Robin. Well, Christopher, it's interesting, and so this is why I want you to think about what we're talking about. Christopher was very connected to Mom, to the son. It was like they were brothers, and they would play on the floor and look at each other, and they'd know what the other was saying and doing. And in about 6 months, though, the father passed. He had had brain cancer, and Christopher was in place by then to kind of not take his place at all, but in a way stand forward so that the mom could lean on him. And he turned out to be quite a protector, very, very connected to everybody. So as you're thinking about this, that was a timing thing. That was definitely a divine appointment. That the divine appointments remind us that life is not happening to us, but through us. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, because timing doesn't explain recognition, that's where like the soul appointment would come in. So how many of you, and let me look for a second and see what you're saying about timing before I go launching into soul appointment. Colleen says, I've had 5 dogs come into my life that I knew their names, including the spelling, and knew they were meant to be with me. That's great. And often dogs will do that, or cats will do that, or horses. It doesn't really matter. Animals will do that. They'll literally give their names ahead of time. And that's wonderful when we can catch it. I've had that happen too. So Blue Bear says, Blue taught me how to have joy even though through the hardest times of life. That's a gold nugget right there. One you can keep forever. And Joan says, I believe my prior chocolate lab, Mocha, sent faith to me, especially since losing my husband as well. Absolutely. There's an animal network out there. And you are absolutely correct. My Molly, we call her Mother Molly because she was kind of bossy. She definitely sent Cookie after all the ones in her play group passed. She actually waited, and she was the last to pass. She would see everybody else out. It was quite beautiful. But she sent Cookie, who is she's been in a couple of my videos if you're looking at reels, playing with the ball, but she definitely was sent by Mother Molly. And that's when I connected. She actually said, Mother Molly sent me. So yes, absolutely true. That's beautiful. I love that you all see the connections. Alana says, I just ended a bad situationship I was in right before he passed, though, because I realized my worth. Maybe that was his mission with me in his life. My Yosh. Yes, it goes quite deep as to how they help us grow and what they help us realize and what they mirror to us that we maybe need a little more of. I had a friend who had a dog named Rose, and she, the friend was kind of timid with her partner, and it was not a good situation. And Rose was not afraid to be who she was, and she was very strong and mirroring the courage that my friend really needed. So, they are in relationship with us in a huge way. So the divine timing, the divine appointment, they're coming in and it's divine orchestration. And then the soul appointment speaks to the agreement. And we're talking about that a little bit. It speaks to the like a mutual yes in this lifetime. So this is why, some animals feel like instantly familiar to you. Why you look in their eyes and you just know, or why you get names ahead of time. How many of you have felt that you knew without knowing how you know that animal was supposed to be with you? So if you'll answer that and throw it in the chat, I'd love to hear that. I'm going to read a couple of the comments. Well, I'll give you a minute to do that. Jenny says, I believe Winnie was sent to me by my previous dog, Charlie, as my partner was suddenly ill with terminal cancer. And Winnie was the one who saw me through this devastating time. Yes, absolutely. It's profound, the growth we have and the things that they help us with that we don't even know that we need at the time. And Angie Lynn says, Buffy took me down a path about dog food and how kibble isn't that good. She had to pass for me to understand it. How does that help you now as far as what your understanding is about that? And because whatever they teach us, it's kind of our responsibility to take it forward. How are you taking it forward? Alana says, thank you, Tami. Yes, we knew it. Love at first sight at the shelter. My heart overflowed and I had tears. Signature sign, that instant recognition. So how many of you knew my dog was sent to me after I lost 2 boxers, a cat, and miscarriage? That's a lot, and it's big. She has the colors of the other 2 dogs. Beautiful. Love that. And Samantha, absolutely my Jack and Merlin. And my rescue horse, Rhea. I knew them all in my heart and soul before meeting them. All right, I love that wording. I knew them all in my heart and soul before meeting them. It's like, call me by my name, right? You recognize them. That is exactly where you will recognize it. And sometimes I think we feel that it's, oh, we're thinking about it. But no, we're being given on an energetic level information, and we're translating it, and it can seem so natural. The bond really goes far beyond personality, as we are all sharing now, in training or circumstance. It's so much more than that. Um, Let me see. My son, he came to me through a friend after I'd undergone breast cancer and radiation. Yes, and it's interesting all the ways they come to us through the. It's that in itself is an interesting thing, because like shelters, or for instance litters of puppies, that is the reason people come into the door, right? The doorway, the threshold. But it's the particular resonance with the soul that we're actually meant to go straight to. And it's always magical. And, so ask yourself for the soul appointment, why this animal, right? And the answer is because your soul recognized each other. Let's see. Lisa says, I knew my boy was supposed to be with me from the day he was born, sent to me from my Freya. I even had a dream of them playing together. Wow, that's beautiful. I hope you all are noting all these things, because they're really important in tracking, uh, being open to communicating with spirit and communicating with your animal, or people. It's that animals are here to open us up, and a lot of times it's opening up our heart, which is the largest, the most powerful psychic center ever. Hey, Connie, Archie sent Sage, as he knew I wanted to carry on his legacy. Yes, we hold their legacy we hold their history after they pass. And so the question is, how do we honor them going forward? And that's why the divine appointment and the soul appointment, and then I'll talk about the sacred appointment in just a little bit, are so important, because things don't end, they continue anew. 888, our angles are together. I love that. Let's see. And Cindy says, good to see you. A friend contacted us after a difficult loss and told us he had a dog for us, another golden retriever. We were not looking. On a soul level, you were. You don't know how many times I've said, I'm not looking. The girls here are part of that. Like, I wasn't looking. They arrived. But after a mere glimpse of her picture, we knew she was meant for us. I love the photo aspect, because photos are gateways. They're blueprints of the soul. And we can, a lot of times, you may pick up see a photo and just go, oh, I'm so drawn to this dog or this cat or this horse or bird or whatever. And, it's that you're being communicated with. And let's see, Donna, 2 dogs didn't work out for us, and they ended up going to where they were really meant to be. And that opened up space for our boy to come in. And we weren't looking for a pet, but saw his face on Facebook one night and just knew he was mine. Beautiful. Here's where I'm zoning in on, is that opened up the space. Animals come in, and a lot of times they're openers. Maybe they're not meant to stay, and we tend to beat ourselves up for it. And I love that you have understood that space opening was really a heart opening, which means that divine appointment, not that these 2 dogs weren't divine appointment, because they were, and how they came in and how they left, and the gift they shared then led to another. But it's those juncture points that pay attention to, of what is going on within your life when they come in. Deanna says the fosters that never leave. Yep. I want to ask you too, before we get into sacred appointments, you know that animals come in, or maybe you don't. Animals also not only come in for us, we come in for them as a divine appointment. While they're learning, helping us, they're also having their experience and their soul lessons and their growth. And that's why a lot of times our kind of lessons are paralleling, or we're mirroring each other, because we're both helping each other. And often people think, well, my animal, or my pet came in and this is what they did for me, and they never think. And I always ask, well, what did you do for them? What gifts did you share? Because there's shared learning, there's shared evolution. And I will also tell you that animals come in for each other as well. How many of you have seen that, or have had more than one animal and they've developed this amazing friendship, or you can just tell they were meant to be? I've had, well, I had a lot of animals, but over and over, I've seen where they are coming in to tag team and be in like little families, like Molly's group and Mother Molly, with the Street Smart Labs and the boys, and she would tell on them. And there's this, they came in for each other. She and Sally kind of helped each other manage the boys who would always get into trouble. And I mentioned on a video, Beezy and Ernie, it's just so fascinating how one came, then the next came, and they were just meant to be together. So I'm wondering for you, if you've thought about that animals also come in to help each other grow and to form soul teams and to help you. Like Katie, Murphy, Katie, and little Zoe were definitely a little threesome that kind of ushered me along at a certain point and chapter in my life. And, as it is on cue, they also each left at different junctures of their growth with me and my next chapter going forward. So Anadine said, Zan wanted to be with a very spiritual person to learn about consciousness. That's beautiful. I love that. And yes, we help each other spiritually, and some animals are extraordinarily spiritually evolved. And Angie says, my husband's prior dog and my Buffy were the best companions. Buffy passed away a year and 1 week after he did. And that will happen too. That will definitely happen. And sometimes, they pass the baton to the one who's left, and that one steps forward and gets, and the beautiful thing about that is perhaps in the relationship, the one who's left had let the other one kind of be the front energy, like the stronger energy. And when the other one passes, it's like they're able to step in and see who they are and grow from that. So, and we can talk about this because they're all connected. The animals come in as healers, mirrors, anchors, awakeners. How many of you have had an awakener? Donna, I'm disabled from pain, etc. And my dog ended up disabled in a wheelchair and taught me resilience and grace and how we need to advocate for ourselves. Vets and people thought he should be put down just because he needed a wheelchair, but he loved life. And I'm missing, let's see. Oh, I'm missing the rest of it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I got it. And deserve to keep going, obviously. Yes. I love the resilience and grace that you speak of. I had a blind dog. Well, she wasn't blind when I got her, but she went blind, had eye issues. And the grace that she carried herself and the actual sight that she developed was incredible. And she was one of the best examples of insight and seeing what's underneath everything, seeing what's beyond what can be seen with your eyes. Let's see. Cooper was my awakening. And if you say awakening, I'm wondering, what is that? What was that? What does that look like? What does awakening mean? How were you awakened? And Marge, when I brought Isla home, Ferguson, which cat, would stare at her. Initially, they would sleep at opposite corners of my bed. Gradually, Ferguson would slowly settle and sleep closer to Isla. They finally ended up cuddled next to each other. Let's see. Sometimes, hang on, taking turns cleaning each other's ears. And Lauren says, makes me, let's see, end of doula, so losing my animals taught me and helped me with how to help others with grief. That's another thing they do. They lead us into our next phase of life. And if you find yourself when they leave, again, it's always a juncture point. It's always a turning point for us. And we tend to look at the passing as, this shouldn't have happened now, or it's too soon, or whatever argument we have. But we're literally all going into the next chapter, including our animals. And as they go through that soul portal, so do we in the death portal. And Jess, my awakening was a heart-centered experience of being one with all things. We are one in love. Beautifully said. And yes, and no different. There's no hierarchy between people and animals. We're all souls and we're all beings. And I know that you all, because I can feel you and I see your comments. And if you're here, you know that. You know that they're all souls matter. They're true beings. And they walk with us through very specific chapters of our life. And so, if they came in for each other with their own lessons and their own soul paths, I'm wondering what you feel your animal's soul path was. I'm curious about that. Even if you don't have two or however many, if you have just one, what do you think they were learning? Because that's a part of the meaning of the sacred appointment. Just because we've got the orchestration and the soul agreement is the recognition, the sacred appointment is the reverence for it. And Julie, what are your thoughts if every pet dies from the same illness? Do you think they take on an illness to stop their human getting it? All right. Okay. So let me see if I understand the first part of that. What are your thoughts if every pet dies from the same illness? Oh, that a human has. Okay. I got it. Do you think they take on an illness to stop their human from getting it? I know that that's a common question. In my experience, there is a shared resonance that we have with our animals. And often, again, speaking to soul paths, often we share that part of the journey with them. So I'm always hesitant to simply say, yes, they do take it on to keep, stop their human from getting it, because it's really more about their soul path and their own life lessons and what they are going through together. I just recently spoke to someone who was ill and had to have intravenous feeding tubes. And later on, his dog became ill and ended up in the vet emergency hospital and had to have feeding tubes. So that's part of the soul bond that those two had. And he told me it gave him an ability to understand what his dog was going through on a deep, deep level. So that the empathy that he felt, the soul connection he felt with him was even more. So I don't think it's an either or. I think it's not circumstantial, but it's in each case is different, right? So we have to look a little deeper into that. That's a great question, though. So I appreciate you bringing it up. And Donna says, or let's see, yes, socks got me through the hardest years of my life, my divorce and too many deaths in my family and my failing health and the PTSD, depression, anxiety, and so grateful, but hope I didn't give him the best life because I wasn't my best. Our animal, we're so judgy of ourselves, honestly, and we blame ourselves and we take responsibility for their experience as well. And if, we feel like they're suffering, our animals often don't have that perspective that we have. We're the ones that are suffering. If any, the pain, yes, we have pain and they have pain, but suffering, I think, is more of a subjective kind of, aspect to it. But I'm really glad Socks came through and was your, would you say, anchor? What kind of title? Let's go for titles. What kind of title would you give Socks based on how deeply he affected you? So let me know. And Yoshi just radiated love and joy to everyone, Alana says. And even though he had such a rough journey medically, he was fearless and brave. And did that teach you about fearlessness and bravery? The things we notice are the things that we're supposed to pay attention to. As I said, everything matters. Have you ever felt like your pet helps you regulate your nervous system? How many of you can be with your animal and feel calmer or feel that you are present? Lisa says, my twist was sent to me to help raise all my puppies and teach me about life and patience and true soul love. All my dogs have died before they were 10, but he just turned 16 and is my soul and anchor, meant to be with me. He was 6 weeks old and at a hoarder house that I was helping. And even though he was sick and weak, he jumped out of his pen and chased my car. Wow, what an experience. It's wonderful. And yes, that was definitely like special delivery. Susie says marshmallow purrs. And even more interesting, Cooper was my comfort. What else? Soul companion. Do you feel that animals try to stay around as long as possible until they feel that we can handle the situation? That's a great question. They stay around just like we do until our soul kind of contract is complete. And a lot of times you'll get kind of the extended amount of time with them. A vet may say something, give a prediction, they have X amount of months or weeks or whatever, and they end up going way beyond that. And all the predictions are broken. And so, I feel like they stay and they give gifts up until the very end. And that includes allowing you to handle things and get ready. But again, that's that soul agreement. So would you like to do a quiz? I always like for you to share with me. I created something for you so we could do this. And before we get started, by now, I hope, or if you don't, this is not a performance test. You don't have any right answers or wrong answers. What I want you to do is I want you to go into your heart and your knowing and let your animal help you answer these, whether they're here or in spirit. So if you're up for it, let's go ahead and put up the first slide. And this is, what's the energy of your divine appointment quiz? So question 1. It's like we're a game show. Timing of arrival. When did your animal come into your life? During an emotional shift? And I want you to just do the A, B, C, just pick one of those. And then, of course I want to see, because I'm interested in how all of your animals came in. During an emotional shift is A. B, after a loss or ending. C, during a new chapter. D, completely unexpected. And I would, I kind of want to throw an E in there too. That would be before a big shift was coming. So what do you think? Jane says C. Colleen, B. Another C during a new chapter, A. I love that you recognize you're in a new chapter. Kathleen's A. Marge, D. Her picture popped up. I love how they come. It's just so interesting. Spirit is creative. E, yes, okay, thank you. Before a big shift you didn't know was coming. I've had that happen so many times. A, another D, E. Cool. How many of you had trouble picking one? Or was it two things? E, yeah, before a big shift. And B, after a loss or ending. That's a big portal opening. Donnie, you picked two. Yeah, B and C. Let's see, after a loss or ending, during a new chapter. Excellent. A and E, during an emotional shift and before a big shift was coming, a big transition. E, Priscilla says. I'm glad I put that E in there. I just didn't on the slide. A, yes. C, okay, so just so you know, these are portals. All these are transition points, juncture points that open you energetically on a soul level, and you may not even know, just like an animal coming in and I was like, you have no idea how many people tell me I wasn't looking, and I don't know why they're here. And so we always track back, okay, what was going on in your life at the time. And just this week spoke to a client and had that conversation, and she said, well, a couple years earlier her sister had passed, and she said, but I was fine. And in reality, her heart had been healing and finally opening, and then the exact right animal, and again, spirit special delivery, I'm telling you, sent this dog right into her life, and for a beautiful, beautiful relationship. Definitely a soul appointment and a divine appointment. C and A, during a new chapter and during an emotional shift. I love you're starting to put all this together. And what I also want you to do is you can extend this to anybody in your life, not just animals. Think about the people that have come in and have come in for if it's a parentheses, let's say, it starts here and it finishes. What was going on then, and what was going on when they exited your life, whether they moved or they passed or whatever it was that happened. It always, always is connected. And it doesn't just, it pertains to souls, whether human or animal. Carol, I feel Clark guided me to Phoenix. Oh, they're like little GPS, your little ways. The saying is, rise from the ashes like a phoenix. I did not name him. Beautiful. Love that. Kathleen, that's exactly how I feel about my Rocco. Beautiful. His passing is like a second layer of spiritual awakening and learning psychic abilities. Oh, the openings that our animals give us from these sacred appointments within that is reverence right there. You've got the divine appointment, you've got the soul appointment, and then there's the sacred. They're all connected. They're all different, but they're all, connected with each other. So let's go to question 2, since Tami likes to ask questions. All right. First connection. How did the relationship feel at the beginning? A, instant recognition. B, slow and deepening. C, intense or catalytic. D, challenging but meaningful. Now, we're just talking about at the beginning. So how many of you recognize one of these? And if you don't see one on there and you have an additional one, feel free to put that in the comments. IMB, I'm sorry. We're all here for you. And she is too. And I'm so glad you found your way here, because this is going to be, if it hasn't already, this will help open you to connecting with her even deeper. So how many of you, let me see, you've got some D's, challenging but meaningful. A's, instant recognition. Any B's in the group? Oh, yeah. Anna Dean says B, slow and deepening. And Jane, slow and deepening. Any C's? Oh, let's see. A, my little mix called to me as I was coming down the hall of the shelter. That is great. My Alex, and he was really the first one I ever adopted. I was helping at the shelter and my son was helping me, and we'd take photos of the dogs and take them out and help them get on the website. And I walked this dog. He had these beautiful eyes, a lab, and I put him back in his kennel, and he literally turned around and nodded his head in thanks to me. Needless to say, a few days later, I couldn't get this dog off of my mind. I went back. It was right before Thanksgiving, and Alex came home with me. Slow and deep. A and B, I had to learn to trust and love. And Agatha says B, slow and deepening, and D, challenging but meaningful. Do you know how many people will do the challenging and call that something's wrong with the situation? Challenging means they've come in a very deep way to kind of open you up, so they can be the catalyst. Alex certainly was that. That he was so spiritual too, and made a distinct spiritual decision at some point in his life that was a true shift, and he had an awakening. So let's see. A, the moment I looked into Blue's eyes, that's why I named him Blue, to honor that instant recognition. Beautiful. I lost my baby boy last Thanksgiving. I'm still grieving. What's worse is my husband doesn't want another dog. This hurts. That does hurt. And, I feel that when we gather like this, we're literally, well, I know we are opening channels. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point an avenue doesn't open itself to you for another one to come in. Let's see, Ruthie Jane picked me when I moved in with my daughter and her little family. She was a rescue, and she came to me and didn't leave my side until she crossed in November. She was my soulmate. Truly feel that, see, because we would just sit for hours staring in each other's eyes. I feel lost without her. She's in you're now in that energetic presence where you can literally go into your heart space and meet with her there and gaze into each other's eyes. That is true animal communication. We all have the ability. And Deanna says, A, I heard. And Carol, D. And B, slow and deepening. Another D, challenging but meaningful. And Pippa's mom, B. So these are getting you thinking. Again, think about the people in your lives. What about another question? Question 3. All right, some of you have already talked about this. What role has your animal had in your life? This is a role they played. A, healer of my heart. B, teacher or mirror. C, companion through change. D, spiritual awakening guide. There are many more. These are kind of archetypes that we're talking about, and we can look into that more. These are just a few. So what role do you feel like they played in your life? And it may be more than one. Heck, it may be all of them. I don't know. You tell me. Vicky says A and D. Susie, C. Yes, absolutely, Susie. Soul partners. B and D, Coco says. Teacher or mirror. Companion through change. A and C. And B, healer of my heart. And spiritual awakening guide. Definitely, we wouldn't all be together here now if they weren't all spiritually awakening us. And Debbie says, when Chico and my eyes connected, I felt like I knew him before. It was a strong connection. And it's because you did, and you have. We recognize the souls we've been with, and that we've got an agreement with, like, hey, I'm going to meet up with you, and this is going to, we're going to cross paths, and we're going to grow in this way. It's so beautiful. And, face it, we all need a lot of guidance, and a lot, it takes a village with us as far as, our own soul growth. So I love the animals, gladly contribute to that. All right, Jess, I love you adding one, all the above plus playmate. So when your pet came in, did you need to have a playmate? Did you need to play? Angie says A and C before passing, okay, and D after her passing. I'm curious for you all that are putting D and recognizing what that looks like. What do you mean by spiritual awakening? Well, you could ask me because I'm the one that put it up here, but you know what I'm wanting to know. And Priscilla, B, C, and D taught me how to foster scared and broken animals. What I'm hearing too is, oh wow, taught you how to hold the space for their healing to happen, and knowing how to help them step into their own growth. That came directly for you, by the way. Thank you for sharing that. All of them, Lori says. A and C, Debbie, healer of my heart. Transition specialist, it would be also the companion through change, right? And Susan, B and C, teacher or mirror, and companion through change. And I would add a D to that, Susan. Alana, yes, he reminded me to play, to help be my inner child again. Yes, they come as joy guides. They come as all kinds of roles and guides, and they have all kinds of appointments with us. And again, I want you to be thinking about what you gifted them with. Did you also bring the joy out in them? Did you help them with trust? What were your gifts in relation? Because again, it's not a one-way street, it's relational. D for my Freya was because after she passed, I found you and learned how to connect with all of my last ones. Or let's see, all my last. That's beautiful. And the animals do bring us together, Lisa, 100%. And it's when we gather like this, the energetic, like a heart that, you see the hearts that pulse out, our energy, and it's gotten more and more every time we meet, is pulsing out and reaching. It's like sending it out all over the animal network and hearts everywhere. So all of your comments are actually helping with that, and your animals are channeling right through you right now. And that's how normal it can feel. So question 4, I love you. You're really going deep with this. The effects. And we're going to go into, like, how did this affect you? How has this relationship changed you? Who are you? How has it changed you? A, I became more open-hearted or loving. B, I grew stronger or more resilient. C, I became more intuitive or spiritually aware. D, I learned patience, boundaries, or trust. And of course, you can add something because when we add, you're helping us all see another aspect of it. And while you're thinking about it, Rocco brought me and my husband together. We are now expecting our first child. Oh, I love that. Talk about a door opener. And like, I'm hearing like the soul family that you have, so beautiful and powerful. C and D, and A, Julie, I became more open-hearted or loving. Marge, A and C, I became more intuitive. Again, if you all are here, we're doing the whole spiritual thing. We're doing the opening up our psychic centers. Chris says D2, B died a year after my husband, and I was really going through a lot of spiritually, mentally, and emotionally and physically. Yes. C, Cindy says. I became more intuitive or spiritually aware. A lot of you are putting C. Did you know that before I asked that question? Did you already know that that's how you got opened up, is they were helping you with that? I'm curious about that too. B and D, and B, great. A, C, and D, more open-hearted, loving. And Susie says D, patience through Marshmallow's cancer diagnosis. And, both of you are true healers. And, we journey together. We find each other. And you're able to support Marshmallow as he has supported you. It's beautiful. It's such a soul contract. Let's see. All again. Alana says all. I would have to agree for myself as well. And Carlene, good to see you. Definitely D. I learned patience and gave her space to grow and love herself. Patience is big on the list, isn't it, with us? And that open-heartedness, we have to we make an effort, and the animals keep working at this, not to close down, not to close up shop in your heart. So I think I've got 5 questions. Memory serves me. The gift. What did you learn that you wouldn't have without them? Who are you? Who are you because they've been in your life? Presence and unconditional love. Some of you have already said that. B, letting go and acceptance. It's a big one too. C, courage to change my life. Wow. That's a big one, isn't it? D, deeper connection with spirit or purpose. What did you learn? Debbie says, Tammy's videos have been my support system throughout my grief process, and everyone else's stories have helped also. It's a community that we pull together, and we walk the same path, and we're doing that right now. So thank you. Alana, these are all great journaling prompts. Thank you. Well, you know me, I'm always about journaling or writing, and I'm saying bring your pen and paper here because it opens your heart up tremendously. So A and D, presence and unconditional love, deeper connection. B and D, okay. Letting go and acceptance. Lori, all the above. Yep, here. I hear you. And Debbie, C and D, courage to change my life. A, B, and D, Angie says, letting go, deeper connection, presence, and unconditional love. Alana says, struggling with B and C. E, Julie says, happiness. You're struggling with letting go and acceptance, Alana. Is that what you're saying? And Anadine, that I can be highly responsible and reliable. Love that. Lisa, B, letting go and acceptance, hardest thing for me to ever, and I still need help with. All we are letting go of really are the emotions around that. When we let go, we actually fall into the love that's there and the connection that's still there, even if we are arguing with the hows and the whys, and we don't like how things went, and it's hard for us to let go because we think we're leaving them. You're saying hello again, I promise you. A, the feeling of knowing that I was loved unconditionally for the first time ever in my life. I was truly loved unconditionally. That is a huge spiritual gift that they offer us. And it's one, it's like the present that we have to open to receive it. So if you received that and you know what that's like, then how are you carrying that forward in life? Because that's what we're meant to do. Gifts are meant to be shared. Hearts are meant to love. Oh, Jenny, still struggling with B 2 years in. That's a big one. It really is. And I understand that. The letting go. So how many of you actually resonate with that letting go piece or have had trouble with it? Because I wonder if that's something that we could come back to. So I've got, I think, how many more slides? We've got another quick slide before we have to hop off. So Let's look at the results. Mostly A's. You're a heart healer. Helped you soften, opened your heart, taught you presence and love, emotional renewal. Let's go to the B's. Soul mirror, reflected growth, built resilience, revealed lessons you couldn't see alone. What about C? Transition guide, transition specialist, worked with you through change, encouraged courage, and supported new changes. Helped you evolve into a new version of yourself. We get to see ourselves in a very different light. What about D's? If you've had mostly D's, as the awakening catalyst, that's the archetype. Expanded intuition, deepened spiritual awareness, activated purpose or calling. Sometimes we step straight into our soul's calling and our soul's purpose. So I want you to take this with you. You may carry more than one archetype. Divine appointments don't define you. They reveal who you are becoming. I want to thank you all for being here. This has been an amazing time we've had. You've contributed to the expansion of everything in your hearts and hearts everywhere and the animals. Thank you for coming. I'd love to see you again. And I never can remember, I think February 18th is my next one. And it's as animals as messengers, what they reveal about your life path. All right, everybody, have a great week. I can't wait to see you again.